Oh, Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe, how are you spending your weekend, brother? Because it's been nice and warm and sunny up in my neck of the woods, but it's also that time of year where a whole bunch of university commencements are happening, and it just so happens that the President of the United States managed to get himself a keynote speaking gig at a university for a commencement ceremony, and guess where he went? Because of course he did. Of course he did. He went to an HBCU, a historically black college and university, because guess what? If you vote for Biden, guess what? You are a certifiable black in his own words, right? But conservatives slam Biden for the speech that somebody wrote for him, because let's keep it a buck, okay? Like, I think the last time that Joe Biden wrote one of his speeches, he got caught for plagiarizing it from Jack Layton, the former leader of the NDP, and probably the last good leader of the NDP in Canada. But Joe's not original, or at least he wasn't back in the 80s, but now in 2023, well, he's barely coherent, so somebody else wrote that for him, but he had the audacity to go in front of a pretty much like a 95% black crowd and say that the most dangerous terrorist threat to the nation during the Howard commencement address is white supremacy. If you repeat the lie long enough, people will eventually believe it, and because you have a captive audience, and they're all just going to go, well, of course you can get away with it. President Joe Biden looking like, bro, why do you always have, and I understand that there are some unflattering screenshots that get passed around, but he's kind of just wearing this weird blue robe, and he's also got a whole bunch of white decals and white pinning on it as well. He really is pulling off a Robert Byrd cosplay, if you know what I mean. President Joe Biden was slammed by critics after he denounced white supremacy as the most dangerous terrorist threat. No, he asserted it. He didn't denounce it, because this is the same type of fucking wordplay that they always would try to put on Trump. Will you finally denounce white supremacy? What, for the first time this week? For the first time today? No, you just bring it up out of nowhere in order to say, hey guys, you know what was bad? The Holocaust. You know who's a really terrible person? Joseph Stalin. Boo from some of the crowds, well, especially the one at Howard. But he knows his audience, and whoever was writing his speech was obviously playing for them. He tied it to the January 6th assault because he would champion his own accomplishments, but he doesn't have any. Let's keep it a buck. On the U.S. Capitol building during his speech, this is supposed to be a commencement speech at a university, a rather prestigious one. Like, I joke about it being an HBCU, but it's still Howard after all. Like, it's known around the way. Stand up against the poison. White supremacy is the single most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland, he said. And I'm not just saying this because I'm at a black HBCU. I say this wherever I go. Yeah, you mutter it into your ice cream. Fantastic, Joe. Thanks for the update. Critics quickly took to social media to accuse him of using race for political ends. Well, of course he is. That's the fucking only thing that he does. Oh, shout out to Clay Travis. Joe Biden says that the most dangerous threat to America is white supremacy. I mean, this is completely bonkers. Did anyone talk like this in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, or 2010s? Well, Barack Obama started to, because if we just really, pin everything back to when all of this race hustling started, it started with Barack Obama, when everybody thought, oh yeah, no, cool. The opposition against him in 2008 was just another Bush con in John McCain, and we're all kind of done with the W regime, and we're all kind of done with those neocons. And yeah, Barack Obama got a good speaking tonality. He's a hell of a lot better than, the opposition. And yeah, cool, the novelty of there being a black president. Okay, cool, we'll just go ahead and go with that. And lo and behold, here we are at this point in time where race is at the center of every single fucking political statement. Christ almighty, it's fucking annoying. Yet suddenly, okay, yeah, of course not. Yet suddenly, white supremacy is the biggest threat in America. Yeah, I don't really think so. How many white supremacist shootings have there been? I can think of the Buffalo shooter at the shopping mall. Okay. You keep trying to tell me that Hispanic kid down there in Texas was a white supremacist, but we can also take a look at, okay, how many white supremacists are there? And then compare and contrast that with mass shooters on the trans side of things, and you just go per capita, and what's immediately right now a bigger threat? Interesting. Anyways, yes, I don't even think there's, that's one of the 50 biggest threats. Yeah, no. I wouldn't put it up there, but then again, I live in reality. The Democratic Party spent most of the 19th century and most of the 20th using overt racism to win elections, wrote John Miltimore, a conservative commentator and editor for the Foundation of Economics Education. They are doing it again in the 21st century. Yeah, where have you been? Racism, it just looks a lot different than the 19th century version. Yeah, fewer whips and cotton fields, but now it's just student debt chains for degrees that absolutely mean shit, because how many gender and racial studies groups were in the crowds. I think this was a statement that Marquette Burton, the Saint and the Sinner, made that is 100% true. If your degree has arts at the end of it, it's not a real degree. It's not a serious degree, and I would imagine there's probably a fair few of them. Well, if you take a look at, general graduation rates, women account for 70% of graduates, and yeah, even though that they're better represented in the science, technology, engineering, and math departments, they're still getting an overwhelming amount of studies and arts degrees, which totally fucking means absolutely nothing. It's a great wall decoration. It's something they can look at as they're putting on their Starbucks uniform in the morning. Oh, and the fields are just government jobs. There we go. That's the analogy between the 19th and the 21st century. Clay Travis, we already ran through his tweets. The comments come after Biden evoking January 6th in a speech. Fucking why? Calling out immoral. Oh my God, great. Yay. Moralism. Emotional damage. Efforts to cling to power and what was a clear shot at former President Donald Trump's election overturn effort. Yeah, that's wonderful and fantastic. He also brought up Vice President Kamala Harris, a Howard grad. Ooh, I wouldn't bring her up as a sterling example. Look at the likes of which Howard can produce. Kamala Harris. Oh, yeah, she graduated from here, and she's held a lot of jobs. Just hasn't really done any of them well, except for the below variety. Both, and touted his appointment of Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's so fucking dumb she couldn't even answer what was a woman. I'm not a biologist. Well, you're barely a lawyer. Both are the first women to hold their posts. What? No, that's got to be we're using Daily Mail, obviously, you can see. But the first women of color, because obviously there's been... Actually, no, that's not even true for Ketanji Brown Jackson. Because Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she was ethnic of some variety. Depends on what you want to go with that one. Same with Elena Kagan and I was going to say Tommy Sotomayor. Totally different, and the Supreme Court would be a hell of a lot more hilarious. But Sonia Sotomayor, they're all kind of barely... I don't know their racial demographics. All I know is that they don't necessarily look like... Amy Coney Barrett. Just saying. But there's been plenty of women on the Supreme Court beforehand, so I don't know what you mean by that. I legitimately don't know. But yes, Vice President Kamala Harris is the first female vice president, and for a very short period of time in 2021 was the first female president, because Biden had to go under anesthesia for, I don't know, colonoscopy, because whenever he was awake, he would just come on the bed sheets. I don't know, man. By the way, she's brighter than the rest. What are you talking about? Oh my God, just fucking pass out, you old fossil. Yeah, she's brighter than the rest, Biden said weeks after announcing his re-election campaign at age 80. I think he's saying that of ABJ, which is just so verifiably false. I don't even know where to start with that one. But Biden returned to his soul of the nation theme. Oh, great, yes, because nothing quite says soul like somebody who is practically translucent. As he spoke to students at the HBCU, joined by his politically powerful backer, oh my God, one of the biggest fucking race hustlers there is, James Clyburn. Fuck you. I see you leading, and I'm not again exaggerating. You're gonna be leading it, he told graduating students. Yo, man, I really don't give a fuck. But the fact that you need to continuously bring up white supremacy is the biggest threat to the American people without being able to cite your sources, and then funnily enough within a couple of hours after you, I don't know, yelling at people, looking like a demented old man that we kind of all know you are, except for mass media, which is, no, he's totally fine. And yeah, everybody stumbles up the stairs 3 or 4 times a week. You had feds on parade, white supremacy group Patriot Front, sure thing, march on Washington, D.C., drumming and chanting, life, liberty, victory. Is that what it says on the FBI's insignia? Oh, okay, cool. I was just wondering. Just weeks after protesting devil-worshipping convention Satan con. Yo, man, it's either the feds or it's these fucking trad cons that think that everything's satanic. Oh my God, Sam Smith, he's a satanic person. We need to get Satan out of music. It's like you motherfuckers can't cast your minds back to the 80s where everything, the satanic panic. Dungeons and Dragons are going to make people evil, and we can't be listening to the likes of Twisted Sister and Wasp because, oh, they just gender bend and they sexualize women. It's like, that's why I just can't get on board with those trad cucks that are out there. They just say that, oh, just Satan's everywhere. It's like, have you guys, you don't know history. You're just trying to be moralistic fags like the rest of them. Interesting. Very fucking interesting. Far-right group, I guess, Patriot Front, took to the streets of D.C. to march towards the U.S. Capitol in the latest appearance of the White Nationalist Front. Yeah, it's a front for something. White nationalism, though? Yeah, I don't quite think so. Approximately 200 people advanced along the National Mall on Saturday. That's in Washington, D.C., by the way, flanked by police to keep the extremists separated from a small group of counter-protesters. Oh, great, the CIA had something else to do that day. Fantastic. According to the website, the White Nationalist group claims its activism is intended to insert cultural independence founded on our European race. Yo, bro, like, listen, okay, this is one of the most obvious Fed ops that I've seen in a very, very long time. Patriot Front made headlines last month. Okay, if you say it, like, I read the news consistently and I miss a few stories, but for the most part, you know, I keep it a buck and I keep my eye on a lot of things, and that didn't even cross my radar, like not even a little bit. But where the largest satanic gathering in history saw furious clashes between the far-right activists and religious zealots. Fucking har. But all right, yeah, there they are in front of the Washington Monument. You know, those far-right people with their face masks pulled all the way up to the top and wearing, you know, radios and khakis and military issue. Like, let's keep it a buck. And then also, okay, we're gonna see them marching down the street. Okay, you know what else is weird about this? Okay, other than they're all wearing the exact same stuff, they're all in incredibly good shape. Like, okay, yo, big man right there in the front, not to be, you know, like, pause. Okay, they're all in good shape, but isn't there like a physical fitness standard when it comes to being in law enforcement? That's the first thing that comes to mind when I see that. And everybody's of the same relative build. There's no fucking slob, which, no offense, one day, and hopefully, now that the travel restrictions have dropped, and maybe there's going to be one closer to the border, I'd love to go to a Trump rally, and I always pay attention to those crowds because they're enormous, they're huge. But you always see somebody who's got a big old keg on him. Like, we'll just go back to the video. Do you see anybody who's even remotely out of shape? Like, that guy's a little bit of a paunch, but still, like, not out of shape. That guy, probably the closest, like, there's one or two people with a BMI that's approaching 30, but nobody's close to being fat at all whatsoever, which is a huge fucking giveaway, okay? Like, either that's the most fit white nationalist group that is out there, or it's a fucking fed op. Like, let's call it exactly what it is. And given the fact that everybody, every single one of them, have masks all the way up to their cheekbones, come on, man. Fucking come on. Use your brain for a second. I don't like to engage in conspiracy theory, but I don't think it's a conspiracy. It's that fucking obvious. The group donned tan khaki pants and a navy shirt. You know who else's uniform looks exactly like that? FBI. Okay. Completed with white masks and sunglasses to hide their identities. Normally people that want to reassert cultural dominance or, you know, whatever the fuck else is a part of those 14 words or whatever, life, liberty, victory, you know, all of that stuff. We're proud to be Americans. Normally they show their faces. I'm just saying, man, if this is your one-off op, because you take a look at everybody else, like, okay, you're my Proud Boys. Oh my God, that evil group that's out there. What do? Okay, cool. They wear the black polo shirts with the yellow. I forget. They've got a specific name and it's a specific make. Oath Keepers, exact same thing. Like, what are some of them other white nationalist groups we got? One percenters. Heaven's Gate. No, I don't even know, man. Like, the only other group that wears something over their face is the fucking Klan, and there's like 6 of them dumb motherfuckers left. And they don't go publicly marching like that. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? The group was escorted through the National Mall by police to keep the extremists away from counter-protesters who screamed at the mask-wearing zealots. Well, they paraded through the city. Yeah, fantastic. And again, just going into the back of unmarked white vans. Great, wonderful, fantastic. Yeah, but I legitimately, like, Jesus Christ, like that's a big motherfucker right there, okay? And they've all got those brand new shields, okay? And that guy just looks like, oh man, I was just trying to cross, but can you guys just hurry up so I can continue riding my bike? And they've all got, I'm surprised you can't see the creases in those fucking flags because it would have just came directly out of the packaging, but like, okay, that was in Boston. There was, what, 6 people, and okay, cool. White nationalists that have Christ on the cross, fantastic. Let's even say that this is organic. Let's say 100% this is a legitimate organization. There's no glowies in that op at all whatsoever. These are just a bunch of white people that like being white and telling other people that they're white. What would even be wrong with that? What's wrong with anything that they're doing at all? It doesn't look like they're beating anybody up at that point in time. Just as much as Honda with an afro right there is just yelling out. Like, they don't look like they're, angry or anything like that. Like, okay, I'm finding it incredibly difficult to really believe anything that I'm seeing at this point in time whenever it comes to, oh, we just needed to stop the white supremacy that's out there. You take a look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now, and, well, I guess the National Guard just got bored because there's nobody to protect right now. But, hey, they just need to go out there, it's a team-building exercise because they're going to be busy here in the next 18 months with primary season kicking up. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.